this is just a quick video. It seems that Bungie is now taking its job seriously. They now have, as of the 2nd of March this year, they have a Twitch channel which will be bringing out weekly content. We don't know if that's every Wednesday. We don't know. They'll be unveiling their new DLC and new content and addressing all of that, and they'll have some challenges for us as Guardians to deal with as well. But I want to briefly touch on something that happened last week. That happened last week, Friday. And I made 2 videos. One video about the meta, and the topic of choice was 3 weapons, and people not having the ability to even try to get an effective kill. And I was talking about god rolls and weapons. And I managed to make heads or tails of that video. And I stated that the Conspiracy Theory D has god rolls, and I stated that the 1,000-yard stare has god rolls. And upon discussing this with other people and bringing this topic to light, I had somebody try to take content from my channel that they said, which they claimed was theirs, and this was another YouTuber. I have not mentioned this. I did not mention the YouTuber in my previous video, and I will not mention him, as I have had a discussion with him about his lack of watching my content and his guesswork and his blatant inability to listen to what I was saying, because I had one other person in that topic of discussion at the time. I have now begun to see that Destiny, Bungie themselves, are now taking matters into their own hands. They are now bringing us a live Twitch feed from in-house, so it will be all in-house. So we will get information in-house. However, this has been a very long time since Taken King. So we won't see anything from PAX. We won't see anything from E3, depending on how things work. We could do, we could not. It's all speculatory. Well, speculatory, as I want to state. But I want to just state for the record, and state for people out there in the Destiny community, it has been a long time, a very long time, for any kind of confirmation on DLC, on content, on anything than less what we have on Bungie.net. We now have another extension as Guardians to look at what Bungie is bringing us, what they're going to be doing with Destiny, what rumours will be dispelled, and what things will be happening, what, you know, patch notes will be implemented, what will be happening as the game changes and as the meta changes. I want to briefly touch on the meta. It has been seen and it has been stated on numerous videos from people that have played Destiny, that still stream Destiny, that Doctrine of Passing for its fire rate is extremely high. 1,000-yard stare with its god rolls, a Conspiracy Theory D with its god rolls. I am now going to elaborate on some year 1 content from year 1. And the core truth as to why we would not get for example, we wouldn't get a Thorn year 2, or we wouldn't get a Galahorn year 2, is because, and was simply because of the player base. There was no ifs, ands, or buts. It was purely elitist behaviour. people were saying you cannot join these raids unless you had these weapons. And now, as it's transpired, the meta has changed. We are now seeing weapons with god rolls, people going out of their way to farm for these weapons. And it has been pointed out on numerous channels how to get god rolls, how to get this, how to get that, and they do actually work. And, you know, if it wasn't for YouTube, half of us wouldn't have most of the trophies that we do, for example. But my main issue with what has happened with Bungie, it is too little, too late. In my opinion, too little, too late. Because with other games approaching fast 2016 that we all have pre-ordered, like The Division, I'm not comparing Destiny, and I take this as an advantage. And I take this as a no. I'm not comparing Destiny to The Division, because the Division is a whole different game. Yet it has influences. Yet it has, and the key word that I state is influence. And then we have other games coming out. Destiny is a franchise. It's trying to make its mark. It's still trying to keep itself fresh. It's still trying to keep itself going. That's why we've had people leave different companies to join Bungie, albeit from different aspects of the gaming genre community. And as far as I'm aware, we will get our first live stream Twitch on the 2nd of March, which is next Wednesday, from in-house Bungie. And now I'm going to take some time to reflect on my last video. I do not, and I will not, take already done content from other YouTubers and make it my own. I will form my own opinions, I will form my own basis, and I will form my own, you know, ways of saying things. And I said in my video, people do not now have to try to kill people in Iron Banner. For example, the reasons why I stated. Bungie needs to address, they do need to address certain perks, certain roles, certain weapons. And I'm not going to say this weapon, that weapon, this weapon, that weapon, and this weapon. I'm just going to say they need to have a whole look at what perks can be gained, what perks can be obtained, and how people are getting the maximum out of these weapons. Because, in all fairness, the Conspiracy Theory D, for example, still has its one-shot kill, and its impact is significantly higher than an exotic weapon. And the exotic weapon I am talking about is the Invective. The Invective, for its perk, is it regenerates ammo over time, which, believe me, is a brilliant weapon for PvE if you are short on special ammo. And I see people on forums bitching and moaning and bitching and moaning and bitching and moaning. If you do not have this certain weapon, you cannot partake in this, you know, this raid or whatever. It needs to really stop. And I think Bungie does need to address this. They do need to address this manner of elitism, for starters. And then they need to go on to branch out into, say, weapon perks, weapon skill, weapon damage, fallout from weapon damage. They did it with the Thorn. They did it with the Thorn, with the damage fallout. The damage was originally you got hit for 7 damage, and it done 7 damage over time. It goes 7 damage, and then it's 3 damage over time now, meaning you have to place a 2-shot kill instead of the 1. And now I'm also seeing that, you know, when people are being elitist about what weapons they've got in the Crucible and being sweaty tryhards to get something like 45 kills, for example, which I have seen in matches happen because they are using weapons that are blatantly, beyond reasonable doubt, been made too perfect. These god rolls that we are seeing for the 1,000-yard stare, for the conspiracy theory D, they are too perfect for the weapon's capability. You've got impact, you know, have added with these extra god perks coming into play, coming into effect. You're gonna dominate in PvP. But like I say, and like I've always said, Bungie is going to be addressing issues, and I hope that they address issues before it is too late for the player base. But for me, I feel it is too little too late, because there has been such a drought of content. And Bungie has failed to recognise key elements. They have failed to recognise that people are now farming for these weapons, for these perfect rolls, and it's all over social media, Reddit, YouTube, how to get these weapons. And it just makes me not want to play anymore on some level, because I now have to be on my guard and assume that people have the conspiracy theory D, that they have the 1,000-yard stare, that they have the doctrine of passing, that they have the truth. Weapons that don't require effort to kill people with. In all honesty, now that Bungie is bringing out its own in-house Twitch streams, I feel it is too little too late. I feel that it is an issue that could have been done a lot earlier than what we are in now. We're in March. We're on March 1st tomorrow. March 1st tomorrow. And Taken King was released September 15th last year. They have had a good 6 months to imaginatize this idea, which, believe me, it is a good idea. I'm not hating on it. But it is too late. There has been such a drought of content. I myself have personally gone over to Black Ops 3 and found that the gameplay is more fluent, that, you know, there are DLCs that are waiting for, you know, we are getting things done and dusted, weapon patches that are more effectual. In all honesty, whether it be Activision or whether it be Bungie's fault, whether who is to blame, whether who is to not blame, or whether it's the player base, whoever's fault it is, it's certainly, for the most part, all of us. We all have some form of blame to take, because we as players did not get onto Bungie. We didn't get onto Bungie saying, we need more, we need more, we need more. We just sat there. We took it. And then Bungie was like, what do we do next? And then you've got the player base, who's finding imaginative ways to grind out, and people have ground out to get these weapons. And then they are going to bitch, and then they are going, hi Tom, then they are going to bitch, and then they are going to moan that those weapon perks have been removed. And the only reason why they've been removed is because the community has struck back by saying it is too overpowered. So, in general terms of respect to Bungie, it is too little too late for the 2nd of March, for the 2nd of March, which is Wednesday, this Wednesday. It is too little, too late, because the player base, these weapons that are in circulation now, the god rolls, they're all in circulatory motion. And Bungie fully knew that they were in existence to some degree. And it is with all sincerest apologies to those who are brilliant gamers, to those who are talented in Crucible and talented in maximizing their damage potential, that they're going to get penalized in the future, because people have gone to such an extreme to hunt down these god rolled weapons, these god perk weapons, such as the Conspiracy Theory D, such as the Ominous D, which I am now seeing, such as, you know, the Irene 44 sniper rifle, which at one point was very good, and now it's been dustized. It's now been put to the dust because people have found out that there are god perks on the 1,000 yard. I am seeing more 1,000 yards than anything to imagine. And yes, I'm seeing Conspiracy Theory D in the early days. Conspiracy Theory D was constantly around in the early days. But now we're getting god perks of these weapons. God perks with these weapons. And I don't think, personally, that's fair. In fact, that's an unfair advantage to those playing the game. For those who have just come into playing Destiny, who don't know about weapon perks, who don't know about weapon rolls, who don't know about all of this, for the lack of a better word, extra shit that they could do to grind out to get better weapons. And for the most part, to a certain degree, when I said it's all of our blame, we're all to blame for this, because inevitably, on one side to an inevitability scale, is it's going to force Bungie's hand, and they're just going to go, here are the perks, gone, bye, sayonara, adios, to these god roll perks. There is so much they could do, and what they did do in year 1, which they should do in year 2, which is remove perks or weapons from the game. But as they come to address issues with the community on a personal level, which they should have done at least mid-December last year, they had opportunities, they've had chances. Is it too little? Is it too late? I personally think yes, but other people may disagree with that. I personally want to talk to you guys as a community and how you feel that having an in-house Twitch stream from Bungie will affect you. Will it give you more insight to how to play the game? Will it give you more of a relaxed read of these patch notes? Will you be able to understand these patch notes better with this in-house, you know, Twitch stream? And will they address perks and weapons and rolls and grinding in it, etc.? Because don't get me wrong, I've had some serious fun in the Crucible. I have. But now I am seeing that people are going to quite lacking ways to kill people with weapons because they've grinded out these god rolled perk weapons. Is it too little? Is it too late? is it safe to say that Bungie have noticed this and are now taking steps? I can only speculate on how they will take and how they address Destiny Year 2. Because for the most part of Destiny Year 2, it's been a shambles. It's been a mismatched party, to be honest. You've got dust and rubble from Year 1, and you've got this now dust and rubble from Year 2 before you've even started. Unless Bungie can rectify and address mistakes at this critical time in 2016, when things like PAX, E3, you know, and etc., all of these big gaming events are coming out, and all of these new games unveiled, will they have the strength, the iron determination to keep going with the community that they have? Because believe me, there have been many people in the community that have been so pissed off that they have gone to extreme lengths as to delete all DLC, as to delete their data and return Dead King back to the stores, as it's become stale, as it's become a rotten corpse to some gamers' degree. And one of my subscribers has actually said, he actually says, and I quote this, and I you know, for some degree can agree with this quote. I think it is too late for Destiny now. And I am now going to ask Tom, why do you think that it is too late for Destiny with 2016 starting? We are only, bearing in mind, we're only in our first quarter. We are essentially in gaming, in terms of gaming. We are only coming up to March tomorrow. Why do you say that it's too late? Why do you say that, buddy?
An honor. Very fine. Always a pleasure.
I'm just going to close my party so people can't join. Because the reason why I say it's too little too late is, first and foremost, they had a length of time, release and post-release, to bring out this in-house Twitch. Well, Tom has said this. PSN Maniac, one of my subscribers, has said this as his reply to my question. He said they don't listen to the community, and because of this, they piss off all their players. Well, to certain degrees and to certain extents, it is half and half. If you want to be, I'm going to play devil's advocate here. It is half the community's fault, and half Bungie, half Activision, half it's half of their fault and it's half of the community's fault, because you've got people in the community, like I've stated, going out, grinding out all of these weapons with the intention to know that they don't have to try in future to put up a gunfight because of these perks. That's one side of it. And the other side of it is because Bungie has had to deal with people leaving the company and other people joining from various other different companies, like the lead writer from Mass Effect has joined Bungie to help them out in a dire straits as a last-ditch resort to save a gaming franchise. So it is speculated. But the community itself has been a hindrance to itself when you've got people posting exploit videos that potentially Bungie knew about and left in there. For example, in year one, the one thing that Bungie left in there, just for the hell of it, just, I think as a test, really, to test the player base, to test their players, to see how honest their players would be. And that, ladies and gentlemen, in year one, was the loot cave. We all know about the loot cave now. I know about it. It's an urban myth. It's now a legend in the Tales of Destiny's player base history. Of infinitely spawning enemies and loot drops being made. So you didn't have to farm. You can do loot farming on certain missions, which Bungie then aptly removed. Because people bitched and moaned. People argued. People resorted to childish tactics in the community to make other players and their time, and their gaming time, redundant. It, for me, may seem that the sailboat that we all rode in on in year one, highs and lows, storyline, and the lack of chunks missing in storyline, the same as happened again in year two. Destiny, for the most part, has had a lack of story-based content. So people are left to speculate on certain things within the community, in the story. And then you've got the community. You've got the community bitching, moaning, being elitist, being very discourteous to other players by being that arsenine to go to extreme lengths to go to hunt these god-rolled weapons, which Bungie knows about, or they may not know about these god-rolled weapons. Well, if they don't, they're going to now. Because it's all over YouTube, it's all over Facebook, it's all over Reddit, it's even all over Bungie.net, for Christ's sake. They have the necessary means to remove these perks and completely reshape the meta from a PvP aspect. They are at a critical impasse, a critical moment of where they are only now just bringing in an in-house live stream team. They are, you know, showcasing, as of 2nd of March, potentially new content, new exotics, new everything, at a time when it's needed. And that time could be too little, too late. With a 7-day, you know, release date, ETA, of The Division. Yet again, I've mentioned it for the second time. Because you've got all these other games coming out. Destiny has had post-release and pre-release. They had post-launch of Taken King. September 15th. I got it on day one. I got it on the day it was released. Oh yeah, new DLC. 6 months later. Where's the next part? Where's the next part of the story that we're missing? Because yes, I have said in my video, but year 1 and year 2 lack so many so many parts of the story that it begs to ask, how many answered questions do we really know? Or have they been answered in a way we understand? Yes, I do agree with you, Tom. I do agree with you that Destiny has a lot of potential. And yes, I do agree with what you said next, which is pulling the finger out, which they are only now doing. And they're now taking what they've got back to the community. They have pulled their fingers out. And this is probably a last-ditch effort to save something like Destiny, because if, in all honesty, it was me, I'm now going to say this, if it was me as community forums manager, if I was Deej, I would have done this a long time ago. A long time ago. I would have done this, like I said, mid-December. I would have done it in December. Purely for the fact I would have known in my job that there are going to be other games coming round about release dates of mid-spring, fall of the following year, to keep my game fresh, to keep my content going. I would have released, you know, an in-house Twitch team mid-December. I would have done that. And like I've said twice before, is it too late? Is it too little too late? These guys at Bungie have had so much time, but they're only now getting to this. They're only now getting to address core issues with this game that could have been addressed for the lack of the better, for the timeline, that could have been addressed in December of last year. I want to leave myself knowing that this game has done many hours of gameplay, and I've met some wonderful people, but I want to leave myself knowing that I've completed a full storyline, that I've had myself immersed in a game like Destiny. And for a final, and this is my final note, my final thought, my final thought. Is this too little, too late? Have I really been immersed in the immersive world that Destiny so much, you know, boasted? Have I really been enticed into the world of Destiny? Have I really given this game my all, start to finish? Have I been given everything I need to know about the reasons behind why I am fighting the darkness? Why the collapse has happened? Why the Traveler has appeared? Why Crota an Oryx appeared. Why do we have these things to fight? What is it that has gone so terribly wrong that Destiny has become what it is? Has Destiny Year 2 stopped before it's even hit its Year 2 mark of September 15th, 2016? Has it fallen short of the mark? My thoughts are of my own. My opinions are of my own. And I want you guys to comment of what you would have done if you were community manager, if you were lead team designer, if you were looking at it from Bungie's side. What would you have done to give back to the community? How would you have resolved those issues of, for example, like I've stated in the video, god rolls, perks, overpowered weapons, meta, elitism? How would you guys have done this? And I will do a video on your opinions, because I want to hear back from you as a community. You've heard what I think. It's too little too late. But there is still so many unanswered questions that Destiny has to uncover. And before long, you're going to get this game gathering dust. And I personally don't want to see that happen. This is Lightheart Gaming, signing out.